The mist was clinging to the glass walls of my greenhouse, turning the world outside into a blur of white and green. I was focused on the condenser coil of my largest still, counting the steady drops of lavender oil as they fell into the beaker. Drip, drip, drip. A rhythm I knew well. Precise, predictable, quiet. But then a car horn shattered the calm, a loud, aggressive blare that vibrated against the glass. I glanced at the security monitor. A beat-up sedan was idling at my gate. The driver's door swung open and a woman stepped out, shielding her eyes from the mountain sun. Then the passenger door opened, and 2 suitcases hit the gravel with a dull thud. I didn't need to see their faces to know who it was. My mother, Catherine, and my sister Kaya. 13 years. And yet there they were, unloading their luggage onto my driveway as though they were checking into a hotel they owned. I didn't panic. I didn't rush. I simply lowered the flame on my burner. The distillation could wait. The invasion had begun. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. I want to see how far this story travels. I wasn't always the woman in the greenhouse. At 16, I was just the girl in the garage, the weird dirt girl Kaya called me. She was the sun in our family solar system, bright, loud, demanding gravity. I was the soil necessary but trodden upon silent. While she chased trends and posed for local catalog shoots, I spent my weekends buried in botanical textbooks, mixing organic balms and salves in the corner of our garage. Kaya called them my mud potions. She'd pinch her nose when she walked by, making a show of how much my work offended her delicate senses. And my mother, Catherine, would just laugh it off. Let her play in the dirt, she'd say. At least she's out of the way. So that was my place in the family. Out of the way, invisible, and I thought it was love. I thought love meant I served them, that my purpose was to make their lives easier, to stay quiet and let them shine. Kaya wanted something, and I was there. She needed money for a concert. I gave up my allowance. She needed a ride. I rearranged my schedule. I was the infrastructure that allowed her to be the star. I didn't mind. Or at least I didn't think I did. What else was love if not service? What else could I do but give and give? Thinking the more I gave, the more it would matter. I never questioned it, not really. I thought I was just different. Kaya was the one who had the talent, the charisma, the world at her feet. I was just the quiet one who stayed in the background doing my own thing. But deep down, I always felt like I wasn't enough. I didn't fit. When I complained to Catherine about Kaya's behavior, when I told her how I felt, all I ever got was, "It's just mud, Natalie. Kaya's got a real career to think about. Stop being so selfish." Selfish. That word followed me like a shadow. The more I tried to explain, the more I was made to feel like I was the problem. The more I was made to feel small. It didn't matter how hard I worked or how much I sacrificed. Nothing was ever enough for them. And yet I still thought it was love. I didn't realize until much later that I was just staff. Kaya came and went as she pleased. She didn't respect the work I put in or the hours I spent perfecting each recipe, each formula. One afternoon, I had a tray of expensive samples on the counter, a calendula infusion I had spent weeks perfecting. Kaya and her friends stormed into the garage looking for a spot to set up her makeup station. She took one look at my tray, wrinkled her nose, and swept it into the trash with a flourish. Glass shattered. Weeks of work gone in an instant. I stood there frozen, not knowing what to say. She didn't even apologize. "Natalie, don't leave your stinky mess where people can see it." And I tried to explain to Catherine what happened, but she just sighed. "It's just mud," she said again, as if my work had no value. "Kaya has a real career to think about." She dismissed me again, and I just stood there letting it happen, telling myself that this was what love was. I was there to serve. I thought I was needed, but the truth is, I was never seen. I was never truly loved. I was just the support system for a family that only cared about Kaya's needs. I didn't understand that then. I thought if I kept giving, kept being there for them, something would change. But it never did. The breaking point came one afternoon, a moment I can still see so clearly. I had spent weeks perfecting a calendula infusion, something I was incredibly proud of. The salve was supposed to be my next big step, my ticket to making a name for myself outside of this family's shadow. But Kaya didn't see it that way. She didn't see anything beyond herself. She stormed into the garage with her friends, all loud music and laughter, looking for a place to set up for a photo shoot. I had the tray of salves sitting on the counter, carefully arranged, ready for their final cooling. I remember the scent of the herbs in the air, the lavender, the chamomile, a small victory I had created with my hands. It should have been a peaceful moment, one I could have savored, but instead, Kaya just looked at my tray, wrinkled her nose, and with one swift motion, swept it all into the trash. The glass shattered as the jars hit the bin. Weeks of work destroyed in an instant. I didn't even have time to process it before she turned to her friends, laughing as if nothing had happened. "Natalie, don't leave your stinky mess where people can see it," she said, like it was all my fault. The words stung, but I didn't say anything. I stood there silent, because what was the point? When I tried to tell Catherine what Kaya had done, expecting some kind of sympathy, some validation, she just sighed and said, "It's just mud, Natalie. Kaya has a real career to think about." She didn't care. She didn't see the months of work, the sacrifice, the love I'd poured into what I had hoped would be my future. No, to her, it was just mud, just dirt, just another thing to sweep away. It was never about me. It was always about Kaya. And I just kept taking it. I kept thinking that if I could just be patient, if I could just keep quiet and keep working, something would change. But it never did. It wasn't long after that when the fire happened. The fire that we now call the laboratory fire. Though that sounds grander than it was. I was at school as usual, keeping my head down, trying to stay invisible. Kaya, of course, was at home. Bored, probably. She decided to play with my stuff as she always did, never caring about the mess or the danger. I had left a Bunsen burner cooling in the corner of the garage. I hadn't turned it off, but it wasn't in use. It was cooling, just like I'd left it. But Kaya was bored, so she knocked it over. The dried herbs in the corner caught fire. It wasn't a big fire, not at first, but the smoke had filled the garage quickly. I remember walking into the house that afternoon, expecting to hear the usual hum of life, the clatter of dinner preparations, maybe some music playing. But instead, I was met with chaos. Kaya was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, coughing dramatically. And Catherine, my mother, was pacing her face, contorted in rage. "You could have killed us all," she screamed the moment I walked in. Her voice was pure fury. "Leaving your dangerous chemicals out like that? What is wrong with you?" I was stunned. I tried to explain, to tell her that the burner had been off, that it had just been knocked over. But it didn't matter. Kaya's tears were the only proof they needed. She was already playing the victim, sitting there, making her sobs as dramatic as possible. And Catherine, she didn't even give me a chance to speak. She was already telling me that I was the one who had caused this, that it was my fault that I had left a dangerous mess. And the worst part, she took Kaya's side. She always took Kaya's side. "You need to pay for this," she said, her voice cold as ice. "We have to clean up this mess, and since it's your fault, you're going to pay for it." I didn't have money to pay for a cleanup. I had $4,000 saved up in my room from summer jobs, money that was supposed to be for college for my escape. But Catherine didn't care. She went into my room, grabbed my cash box from under my bed, and took it all. "This barely covers the stress you've caused your sister," she said, pocketing the money. And then, as if it was nothing, she pointed to the door. "Get out." She said it like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like I was the one who had burned down the garage, like I was the one who had ruined everything. I can't have someone reckless like you in this house. I left that night with nothing but a backpack and a hollow feeling in my chest. It wasn't just the loss of money. It wasn't even the fire. It was the realization that I was never part of their world. I had been invisible to them, always serving, always silent, always giving, and they had taken it all. But I didn't know then that it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Leaving that night, walking out the door with nothing was the moment I began to see things clearly. I wasn't the problem. They were. And I was done letting them make me feel small. I was done letting them take everything from me. I left that night with nothing but a backpack and a hollow feeling in my chest. The sound of the gravel crunching under my boots felt too loud in the mountain silence. I didn't look back. I couldn't. My entire life had been spent bending, breaking, folding into the shape of what they wanted. But in that moment, I was finally straightening up. I was finally reclaiming something myself. I didn't know where I was going or how I would get there. I just knew that I couldn't stay. That house, the one that had never felt like mine, was no longer my prison. I walked away from it, and that was the moment everything began to change. I didn't know it then, but I had taken the first step towards something new, towards something better. And it started with that small, quiet act of leaving. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I didn't need to. I was alone, and that was exactly what I needed. I didn't need their approval or their guilt trips or their expectations anymore. The next morning, I woke up with a clear mind, a sense of freedom I hadn't felt in years. And that's when they came. They thought they could just walk back into my life as if nothing had happened. My mother and sister, they showed up at my door just like that. I saw them through the frosted glass, their figures distorted but still unmistakable. They didn't knock. They didn't wait for an invitation. They just stood there as if they had every right to be there. They had no idea what I'd been through, what I had sacrificed. They didn't know how much I'd suffered, how much I'd given up for them. But they didn't care. They didn't even see me. They saw what they wanted and they thought they could take it. Kaya's hand reached for the door handle, and for a moment I thought she might just push past me. I could hear the faintest hint of desperation in her voice. "Oh my God, Natalie, look at this place," she said, her fake excitement so thinly veiled. "We heard you bought the old Galloway estate. Can you believe it? Grandpa used to say he built this place. Did you know that it's basically family property?" The lie hung in the air between us, heavy with entitlement. Our grandfather was a mechanic from Ohio. He'd never set foot in North Carolina, but Kaya was good at rewriting reality when it suited her. And then, with that same practiced breathlessness, she said, Since it's practically ours anyway, we figured we'd move in to help you manage it, keep it in the family. The words came so easily to her, like she had every right to make demands. But I wasn't the same girl who had left. I wasn't the same girl who had spent years quietly serving their needs. No, I had changed. I had reclaimed something. I took a step forward and I looked Kaya in the eye. I didn't flinch. I didn't back down. I bought this estate, I said, my voice steady. The LLC is called Nemesis Holdings. Did you think that was a coincidence? I watched the color drain from Kaya's face, and I saw Catherine blink, confusion spreading across her face. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice still laced with entitlement. "You bought it with what money you work in dirt." "I own the dirt," I corrected, "and everything that grows in it." I felt a quiet satisfaction as the words left my mouth. I stepped back, reached behind the door frame, and pulled out a folder I had prepared. It wasn't thick, just a few pages, but it felt heavy in my hand. I placed it on the small iron table between us, as if placing my future in front of them. "This is a notice of no trespassing," I said. "And this," I pointed to the second document, "is a ledger. It details the $4,000 you stole from me 13 years ago. Adjusted for inflation and interest, that comes to $9,400. If you want to talk about family property, let's start with that." I didn't wait for their response. I didn't listen to their protests. I didn't even wait for them to try to explain themselves. I closed the door slowly, locking the deadbolt behind me. I didn't need to hear anything else from them. I had already said everything I needed to say, and as I stood there in the silence that followed, I felt something shift inside me. I was no longer the girl who had served them. I was the woman who had built something for herself, a woman who didn't need their approval or their manipulation. And I knew with absolute clarity that I would never let them back in. There we were, standing at the door with the weight of 13 years between us. Kaya looking so much like the girl I once knew, bright, frantic, full of that same desperate energy, reached for the handle. Her fingers hovered just a breath away from pushing past me. I could feel her expectation, her sense of entitlement. She was so used to people stepping aside for her, so used to demanding, taking, and never giving anything in return. But I didn't step back. I didn't flinch. I didn't give her the satisfaction. I stood firm, and I saw the flash of confusion in her eyes as she froze in front of me. Catherine, standing just behind her, looked like she was about to say something, but she stopped herself when she realized what was happening. The door wasn't opening. Kaya, with her fake excitement, couldn't push through. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't the girl she could push around anymore. Not anymore. I wasn't the girl who had spent years letting her take from me, who had silently followed her lead because I thought it was love. "I bought this estate," I said, my voice calm, steady. It felt strange to speak those words out loud, but they weren't just words, they were the truth. I wasn't beholden to them. I didn't need their approval. "The LLC is called Nemesis Holdings. Did you think that was a coincidence?" Kaya blinked. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The shock was written all over her face. She hadn't expected that. She hadn't expected to be confronted with the reality that I owned this place, that I had built it. Catherine, too, looked lost, confused. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice thick with disbelief. "You bought it with what money you work in dirt." The words stung, but they didn't have the power they used to. Not anymore. "I own the dirt," I said, My tone not rising, not faltering, and everything that grows in it. For a moment, there was only silence. I could see the gears turning in their heads, the pieces clicking into place. Kaya's eyes, once so full of self-assurance, were now wide with something else. Fear, maybe, or maybe just the dawning realization that the game had changed. She wasn't in control anymore. "You think you can just show up here?" I continued. "Like you own something like you can take from me again?" The weight of the years I had spent sacrificing, serving, fading into the background. For them, everything I had been pressed down on me in that moment. But I wasn't going to carry it anymore. I was done. I reached behind the door frame and pulled out the folder I had prepared. It was light in my hands, but it felt like it carried the weight of everything that had come before. I set it on the small iron table between us, the paper crisp and final. "This is a notice of no trespassing," I said, my voice unwavering. "And this," I pointed to the second document, "is a ledger. It details the $4,000 you stole from me 13 years ago. Adjusted for inflation and interest, that comes to $9,400. I could see Kaya's face drain of color. I could feel the air shift between us. This was the moment she realized. She wasn't in charge here anymore. She wasn't the one making the rules. And neither was Catherine. They thought they could walk back into my life, take what they wanted, and leave. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I wasn't their pawn. "If you want to talk about family property," I continued, "let's start with that." There was a flicker of hesitation, a flash of something in Kaya's eyes as she looked at me. I didn't know what it was, but I didn't wait for her to respond. I didn't need to. I stepped back and closed the door. The lock clicked into place, and I felt a sense of peace settle over me, as though something had shifted permanently inside. I didn't listen for their protests. I didn't care about their disbelief or their anger. I had already said everything that needed to be said. I wasn't the girl who had stayed in the background. I wasn't the one who had been quietly manipulated. I was the woman who had taken control, and I wasn't giving it back. After the door closed between us, I expected them to leave, but of course, they didn't. Instead, they took to social media. Kaya, always the performer, went straight to Instagram and TikTok, filming herself in a cheap motel room, her eyes glistening with fake tears. My own sister, a billionaire, left us to rot. She sobbed dramatically into the camera. She slammed the door in our faces. We're homeless. We're starving. The internet ate it up. Strangers flooded my business page with 1-star reviews, calling me heartless. "How could you do this to your family?" they wrote. But I didn't respond. I didn't get caught up in their chaos. I didn't let their lies pull me back into the mess they'd created. Instead, I went to work. I called my lawyer, Sarah, and told her exactly what was happening. Sarah was quick, calm, and efficient, drafting a cease and desist for defamation. But that wasn't the weapon I really needed. No, the real power lay in the truth. I didn't post it publicly. I didn't want a circus. Instead, I quietly uploaded everything to the family group chat, the official fire report from 13 years ago that proved Kaya's negligence caused the fire, not my dangerous chemicals. The bank statements showing how Catherine had taken my $4,000 when I was kicked out. And then the kill shot a timeline, my business growth time-stamped verified on the left. On the right, their growing debt, their credit card defaults, and eviction notices from 3 states. I didn't need to argue with them. I didn't need to engage in their drama. The truth was all I needed. The chat went silent, and the world kept turning. The letter arrived on a cold, quiet morning just a few days after the storm of social media posts and public outrage. It wasn't from a lawyer, nor was it an official document. It was handwritten, the paper thick and cream-colored, the handwriting instantly recognizable. My father, Douglas. I hadn't heard from him in years, not since I left. He had always been the quiet one in the family, the shadow to Catherine's chaos. But reading his letter, I felt like I was hearing his voice for the first time in so long. The first few lines were the kind of words that only a father would say, words that broke the cold distance between us. "I know you think I didn't care," he wrote. "But who do you think bought your first 10 batches of bomb when you launched online? Who do you think anonymously paid for your first greenhouse permit?" My breath caught in my throat. The realization hit me like a wave. He had been there quietly in the background. He had always been there supporting me without ever asking for recognition. But then the next paragraph chilled me to the bone. "You need to know why they are really there," he continued. "It isn't just money. Catherine took out loans in your name to fund Kaya's lifestyle. Dangerous loans, high-interest private loans from people who won't hesitate to hurt you. They owe $50,000 to loan sharks in Atlanta." My heart dropped as I read those words. My family, the people I had once believed loved me, had used me. They hadn't come to my estate to reconcile. They hadn't come to keep it in the family. No, they had come to hide. They had come to use me as a shield to protect themselves from the consequences of their financial ruin. They didn't want my help. They wanted my money, my safety, my resources. They wanted me to fix their mess to pay their debts. They didn't care about me. They never had. The weight of the betrayal was overwhelming. But then, something else clicked into place. I understood the role I had played in all this. I wasn't just the ignored, quiet daughter. I wasn't just the one who had been manipulated. I was a pawn. I had been used not just by Catherine and Kaya, but by the entire family dynamic. But now I was awake. I saw it all, and I would no longer let them use me. The letter was a turning point. It wasn't just a revelation about my family's greed and deceit. It was a revelation about me too. I had been giving them everything, my time, my money, my heart, because I thought I owed them. But now I knew better. My father's support, quiet and invisible, was the only real love I had ever received from them. And that love, I realized, was the only thing that had truly kept me from drowning in their chaos. The rest of them, they were nothing but a sinking ship. And I was done being part of their crew. It's been months since the confrontation, since the chaos, since I walked away from that life I once thought I had to endure. Things are different now. The noise has settled. Kaya is working as a receptionist in Ohio, forced to grow up, forced to earn her paycheck like the rest of us. Catherine is dealing with the fallout of the financial mess she created, and I don't ask about it. I don't need to. My world is quiet now, peaceful. The greenhouse is full, not just with plants, but with the people who see me for who I am. People who value me, who support me. My lawyer, Sarah, the neighbors who once only waved at the gate, the staff who helped tend the land, all of them are part of this new life I'm building. It's not perfect, but it's mine. I've learned what it means to truly nurture something my plants. Yes, but also myself. For the first time, I am growing something that's real, something that's mine. Tonight, we sit together in the warmth of the glass house, the air filled with the scent of basil and laughter. I raise my glass, a small blue bottle of lavender oil, freshly distilled. It's clear, pure, a symbol of the work I've done, the life I've built. To growth, I say my voice steady, to the things we plant with our own hands. And we drink because this is what it means to live authentically, to protect what's yours, to build something that can't be taken from you. If you've ever had to build your own glass house to protect your peace, leave a seedling emoji in the comments. You're not alone. And if you want to keep seeing stories like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because this journey, it's just beginning.